Hey y'all, welcome. Glad you guys have made it to another episode of Better Than We Found It, a podcast that will eventually shine the light and some attention on some of those community hometown heroes that go unnoticed through the day to day. They're all about us, angels in the wings, if you will, and they're doing things like, moving their neighbors' trash cans after trash day pickup back to the house, holding a door open for somebody, or being a crosswalk at the local elementary for the last 10, 15 years. They're all over the place, doing what they can, any way they can, to leave this place better than they found it. I'm your host, Dean Brown, and again, thank you for joining me. Sit down and let's have a chat. Come on in. So I'm in Houston, Texas today. We left Nashville this morning about 8 o'clock in the AM, of course. And, for me, making a run to the airport is usually a solo venture. Going to catch a plane to go play a show somewhere, or go rehearse somewhere, or go do a TV show or something crazy like that somewhere. But this morning was a unique and very welcomed trip. My wife and I and my eldest child all boarded an airplane, took up one row. Even though there were 55 seats available in the airplane, we all sat together, not by a door hatch or anything like that. But we all boarded the plane. We all did the morning, I did what I do, went and grabbed coffee and a bottle of water, and they kind of just, they fell in right behind me. It was a nice family experience. They were very cooperative, because they know I do it almost, every month for certain, but a couple times a month, maybe in the peak season, every weekend. So they know I have a routine. When I was packing, I have my pack. You can ask any of my road family who know how I pack. I'm very meticulous in my pack. But it was it was a nice travel, man. It was really good to look next to me and not see a stranger, and not see somebody that I had to, be afraid, not afraid, but, these days and times, everybody, being worried about being healthy. I do the same. But, it was my shotgun rider was sitting shotgun in an airplane, and then next to her shotgun was my eldest child, Jules. And it kind of struck me amazing as we were taking off. I don't sit by a window. I don't like window seats. I'm an aisle guy. But I happened to look across at the right time as we were taking off, and I thought, I'm flying. I mean, I'm not actually like flapping my arms and taking taking to the sky myself, but I am actually soaring through the air. And mind you, I don't drink. I haven't drank in 10 years, but sober as a nun. Sober as a nun. It struck me that I'm flying with my child and my wife, and you just think happy thoughts, and it was a very very warm, fast, mind you, flight over from Nashville to Houston. So I'm here in Houston, and the reason we're here in Houston is because we came over to attend my son, my third son, his graduation. He graduates from Universal Technical Institute. Tomorrow, he will be a certified BMW technician, and he will be able to work on anything BMW. He is so competent. He is so sure of his skills and knowledge, and he has every right to be, because he made the choice straight out of high school that he wanted to go to Houston to attend this tech school to become a BMW specialist. And almost about a year and a half ago, we dropped him off here in Houston. And he was 19. Dropped him off, got him an apartment, signed him up, and we drove 11 hours back to our home in Nashville. And that's, for the last year and a half, we've done our best to get him home for holiday. And his school is so compact that in that year and a half, he hardly has any breaks, and any unexcused absences would mean failure. So it was a very strict and very compact class and course. So taking off and ditching class to go home for the weekend or whatever was not an option. And we had some opposition during this year and a half. COVID, of course, was always an issue. He's had car problems, of course, as we all do. So he had a big dose of adulting while attending UTI here in Houston. So I just want to tell his story real quick, because, it's so inspirational. It kind of, it's kind of my story too. But right now, what I'm feeling is just pride for this young man. Like I said, a year and a half ago, we dropped him off in this big city. And, we worry. Well, I don't want to say worry. We have to just let it, lift him up, as we say, just lift him up and let God guide him and keep him safe. But it could have been, there's a branch of this school in Charlotte, but the only one that has the BMW fast track, is what they call it, is here in Houston. So no, Charlotte was not good enough. He didn't want to. We're thinking, come on, Charlotte, you get out of there, get into NASCAR, get something, and you're only 6 or 7 hours, or top 7 hours from the house from there in Nashville. It's 11-hour drive if we were to drive. When we drive, we've driven a few times. But anyways, he had this dream to be. He wanted to race cars, and I know he stumbled onto that realization a little late in his adolescent years, because I know that some of these kids some of these drivers started when they were very young with go-karts and and another go-kart, and then maybe moved up to a Legends car, and then just worked their way up. And it's a talent that is honed from a very young age. So when he came to me and told me he wanted to go fast, he was already 15 or 16. Of course, I'm very busy with what I do, and at that time of life was not an option to try and buy a go-kart and get him into some kind of a circuit or whatever, or even a Legends car. So he opted to go the performance route, and he had a dream car. He knew what car he wanted, and the reason he wanted this specific BMW model was because the engines were made to withstand a lot more power than the stock, setup was giving it. So you could put turbos, downpipes, you could modify this thing to do crazy horsepower. And that was his dream car. He saved, he worked and he saved. And we found his dream car, manual transmission, everything. He's never driven a stick before he bought this car. We found it, and he bought it. And I went with him to pick it up because my truck's manual transmission. I helped him that day learn how to drive a stick, and he was driving it by the evening. And within about 2 or 3 days, he had the heads off, the valve covers off. He was replacing, doing the valve cover gaskets. I forget what they're called, something packs, coil packs. He was replacing coil packs. This is a kid who's like 18 years old, high school, and most of this stuff he's seen done on YouTube, but he just knew he could do it, and he did it. So this is also the same child that, remember the iPod? I guess at the time they were either a Nano, just played music, and they were out, and he wanted one. He saved, and he worked. And at this time, he may have been 7. And I got a picture. I'll post it somewhere some of these days. But we went to, I forget where we went, Walmart, Target, one of those big box stores, and he laid the cash down to buy his own iPod Nano. And the look on that face when he bought that Nano, and I take a picture of him, he was glowing. And the same look that he gave me when he bought that Nano, I saw when he bought that BMW. Pure accomplishment, that feeling and that look on his face when he got that BMW was satisfaction, pure accomplishment. So when he tells us he wants to make this move out here to Houston, mind you, there is a location, Universal Technical Institute in Charlotte, I believe, North Carolina, where they do the same thing, with the exception of they put you in the NASCAR field. And I thought, hey, there's one just down the street, and it's NASCAR. But no, Houston is the only one that offers this BMW fast track. So he said, no, I want to do Houston. So we took him, we dropped him off, 11-hour drive back home. My wife and I it was a silent ride. We, questioning ourselves, wondering what we'd done. And, we knew he was scared and probably second guessed his choice as well, but he toughed it out. When it came time to look for a job, he had found this place here in Houston that does a lot of high-end vehicles, does a lot of European Lamborghinis, Mercedes. They work on BMWs too, but they're also just high-performance stuff, turbos, all that. You know what I'm talking about. At the time, they weren't looking for anybody. They had a full staff, and they were operating on all 12 cylinders, pardon the pun. So he went to work at Valvoline, which is where he was working prior to moving to Houston, and went to school. Started going to school, and through the course of all that, just enduring life. Being out here by himself, knowing nobody, making friends at school, of course, car trouble, sometimes not feeling well, out here all on his own. I'm sure it was scary, but he did it. And here we are at the end of his his visit here, his adventure here while he's going to school, and about 3 weeks ago he gets this offer from the original shop that does all the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris and what they have up there today. They had McLarens up there with that had an engine out of a McLaren, which struck me weird at first because it was up on a lift, and I'm looking at it saying, what are y'all doing to that? Oh, we're replacing the engine. And then that's right, that's the back of the car. Yeah, McLarens have the engines in the back. It was weird, but yes, he's doing all this stuff. He showed me, this place that he's working at. They're also a research and development kind of a place. So they're manufacturing and testing their own parts, their own high performance turbos, their own high performance manifolds, all their own stuff. So he's getting into that as well. The CAD class that he took in high school is starting to pay off. Ironically, right? They call him up and they ask him to go to work for them. Just as about the time he's getting ready to graduate and come back to Tennessee. So now he's faced with this decision. Do I stay here in Houston, work at my dream job, on my own? Or do I go back home with my friends and family and try and get a job at the BMW dealership, or try and find something that makes me happy with this certification that I have. And so he decided that he's gonna give Houston a try for about another year or so, see how it works with this new company. The company's called Eurocharged Houston. Apparently they have branches all over the world, but they're a very big and specialty mechanic for these very high-end driving machines. He's in heaven. I mean, the smile on this kid's face today when we pulled up was from ear to ear, and he's covered in grease. His hands are covered in grease. He's got grease on his cheeks. But he's in heaven. It just encourages me more to want to dream a big, crazy dream. Not be afraid to dream it. Because if you can dream it, you can do it. I guarantee it. Talked to a group of elementary school kids yesterday through my friend Kyle, who teaches and works up in Pennsylvania. But that's kind of what I encourage them to do. They're the same age as I was when I began to dream my big, crazy dream of being a professional musician. They're about 8, 9 years old, and my friend is teaching them drums. It's a drum class, so music is the subject, and so they were able to see some videos of what I do, and have had a few question and answer session with them, but their biggest the main question that kept coming back was, how did you learn to play country music, and how did you meet Tim, and and I just when I was your age, I saw and I heard a violin, I heard a string quartet in my elementary school for the first time. I fell in love with the violin. I don't know why. I think maybe because it was made of wood. I think I knew it was handmade, and it was just beautiful. And I fell in love with it, and I never put it down. Practiced and spent my adolescent and young teen years in my room practicing in front of a record player for hours a day. But at one point in my life, and I think it may have been just around the time that Urban Cowboy came out, maybe 79 or 78, 79, I can't remember, gosh. That's the 1900s for you young folk. And I saw Charlie Daniels up there on the stage giving it hell. Playing The Devil Went Down to Georgia, giving it hell. And that was my goal. Say no more. That's what I want to do. And so from that point on, that's the vision I had in my head. And look at me now. I don't know. It's manifestation, prayers, practice, right place at the right time, know somebody who knows somebody, luck. It's all of that. But if you don't prepare for all of that by practicing, honing your craft or your skill, whatever it may be, you got to prepare for when the moment comes, because it will come. So tomorrow we'll be here as my son graduates. We'll celebrate. We're in a lovely Airbnb here in Houston. We'll have some family come up. I'm up from South Texas. Yeah, they're coming up. But I am just so filled with pride and so filled with joy and inspiration from this young man. And not just because he's my son, but because he is a dreamer, because he is a fighter, because he is a seeker of happiness. And he did not fear to dream that big, crazy dream. So, if I can leave you with anything today, you're never too old to dream, nor never too young. Don't be afraid. You owe it to yourself. We owe it to ourselves. I've recently started messing with watercolor paints because I've always wanted to. I've always dreamed of being a painter. And watercolor is so beautiful. So who knows? Well, I know. If I keep practicing, success will come. And I will become a painter. I'm not afraid to dare. I'm not afraid to dream a big, crazy dream. You shouldn't be either. Hey, look, thank you for spending some time with me. I've taken up enough of your time. I will have guests on here, I promise. I just spoke to a really good friend of mine over the weekend while I was in Florida. His name is Nick Strand. He's the CEO and founder of a very, very cool movement on the socials. You can Google him between now and then or check him out. Nick Strand, Choose Your Attitude, Change Your Life, has an amazing story. I knew him, or I've known him from years of being co-workers. He's also a videographer, video cameraman, worked on our Soul to Soul tours and our Shotgun Rider tours, and just a really, really super, super nice guy. I'd like for you all to meet him. So that's what I'm shooting for next episode. We'll have a sit-down chat with my buddy Nick Strand, former video cameraman for artists like Lizzo, Dave Matthews, just to name a couple, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill. And he's a really good friend. So come on back. Hope I didn't talk your ear off. And let's try and leave this place better than we found it. What do you say? I love y'all. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, day. And we'll see you back next time here on Better Than We Found It. Bye. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your time. I know you could spend it doing 100 other things, but you chose to spend it with me, and that makes me feel incredible. Be sure to give me a thumbs up or a like or a heart or whatever emoji you want to use that tells everybody this is an awesome podcast. And come on back and tell your friends. I hope to continue this and be able to share some really cool stories and maybe get to meet some of you people out on the road as we get ready to kick off our tour next month. But I really want to do this, and I really want to grow this little podcast. So I really appreciate you guys showing up and spending your time with me. Come on back next episode. We'll be talking to my buddy Nick Strand from Choose Your Attitude, Change Your Life. A very powerful movement that's starting on Instagram. Go check him out. I'm sure you guys will be inspired. And until next time, this is Dean. My friends call me Deano, so this is Deano. And to you, love, luck, and laughter. And we'll catch you next time here on Better Than We Found It. Peace.